Tonight on Let It Rip, it's the story that left Fox 2 viewers heartbroken and angry. An elderly man carjacked at a Detroit gas station, pushed to the ground with such force, he broke his leg.
I'm glad he didn't shoot me or anything, because people shoot you nowadays.
As police look for the thief, one city leader has an idea that armed security guards should be posted at gas stations to protect customers and the clerks.
I'd rather be damned for doing something than damned for not doing anything.
Can Kwame Kenyatta's plan work? Are there better alternatives?
If I see a security guard standing inside of a place of business, I feel that there is trouble in that area, in that specific type of business. So I drive to the next gas station.
Time to Let It Rip. With us tonight, Keith Kobaisi. His father, the owner of a Detroit gas station, was murdered in 2010. The crime remains unsolved. Next to him, a leader who's looking for new ways to stop the violence, Detroit Councilman Kwame Kenyatta. Plus, a man who's been on the front lines of this battle to keep customers and clerks safe, Auday Arabo, president of the Associated Food and Petroleum Dealers. And as always, to tell us what the law can and cannot do to protect us, Attorney Charlie Langton. Now, a little later, we've got a follow-up to the Detroit 300 and their grassroots efforts to stop crime one life at a time. But right now, we begin with a crime that left all of us shocked and angry. It's the story of Aaron Brantley, a World War II hero, attacked and beaten by a carjacker at a gas station in Detroit.
Lord, you might say. All I knew was I was on the ground. I went to get up. I couldn't get up. I'm glad he didn't shoot me or anything, because people shoot you nowadays. What could I say to him? He knows it's wrong. He should be caught. But I guess the Lord knows best. He knows what he has done, and he'll get it one day, whatever has happened. And I hope the police catches him. The people was passing by me just like I wasn't anything. They're going and getting gas. And they saw I was crawling, and I don't know, they don't know that I was hurt or something.
Now, this is video from that BP gas station on West McNichols at Fairfield. Mr. Brantley suffered a broken leg in the attack. He had to crawl from the pumps into the station for help, and what's worse, not one person, nobody. After seeing him crawling here, nobody bothered to help him until he got inside. Now, Mr. Brantley was invited here tonight, but I spoke to his granddaughter. She tells me he's recovering. We wish him well in a speedy recovery. Let's turn now to Councilman Kwame Kenyatta, and I have to ask you, Councilman, when you see something like that, would your plan work? Tell us about it. How would it work?
Well, I don't know if it'll work, Huel, but, you know, we have to try everything. There are so many different plans that we're looking at. You got Detroit 300. The prosecutor has come out and talked about a plan. The FBI and the Detroit police has come out. You have many different groups looking at many different areas, because crime is all over and is throughout. But what we are saying, and we look at it, and you showed it on television the other day, there are so many incidents that have happened at gas stations. Abductions have happened at gas stations, robberies. All of this has happened because this is a place that's open, in many cases, 24 hours a day. And for the most part, there's no visible security out there. Even the cameras are not visible to them. Maybe that's something they need to see themselves being looked at in the cameras. What I stated is that we're looking at an ordinance for a gas station security ordinance. Didn't necessarily say it would be security guards. We're going to meet. I think we're meeting next Friday. We're going to talk about some measures that they already have in place and can put others in place. But I'm saying that this is definitely where crime is taking place. We can leave here tonight. You're going to see people standing out in front of the gas stations asking for money or whatever the case may be. Nobody telling them to move, because I go to the gas stations, drive my own car. So I go to those gas stations and I see that, and I have to tell the guys all the time, you know, either I give them something or I don't give them anything. But there has to be something to say that you can't. This is private property. This is not city-owned property. So if I'm beating on your property, you don't come out and stop me, stop someone from beating, or even help me.
We've got video of the suspected carjacker. Now, this is the man police say is suspected of beating Aaron Brantley. This video just released tonight. It's believed that he waited inside that gas station, scoped out his victim, and then went outside and beat Mr. Brantley for his car. But Keith, you know this personally and painfully. Your father was killed.
Yeah. He was leaving the store one night.
Gas station owner?
Yeah, gas station owner. He owned that station since 1998. And he was staying late because he was getting the store ready. He was going on vacation. He was taking the family on a surprise vacation to Florida. And when he left out of the gas station, someone flagged somebody else. And the next thing you know, he pistol whipped him. There was a fight that had broke out, and he shot him. He shot him in the head.
But when you hear the councilman speak of possibly a security guard on site, do you believe that could have saved your father's life?
You know, I'm not sure. I really don't know. But I can tell you this. I think that if a security guard's there and there's more than one person that's, you know, at the gas station causing problems, what is one security guard going to do? Well, it's 3-on-1. You know, I worked there for years where it would be multiple employees there. And they didn't care. I mean, they'd hold the door open and steal things. They would destroy the store. It doesn't matter who's there. It only matters is if they get caught and if they get in trouble for it. If they get in trouble for it, then they might not do it again.
Well, Auday Arabo, the theory is that a security guard with a gun is a deterrent to crime.
Yeah, I don't think so. And actually, the councilman has the great intent on this, but public safety is everybody's concern in Detroit right now. I mean, the stats are horrible, but I think it actually adds to the problem because, just like Keith said a second ago, you know, clerks, unfortunately, are fearful of even coming out behind the bulletproof.
Well, we've had clerks actually killed. We've had clerks tricked into coming out from behind the bulletproof glass and then only to be murdered.
Absolutely. And so, you know, you're just adding an untrained security guard potentially with a gun out there. And
what about a trained guard? What about a trained guard?
Well, we prefer actually having more police actually out there, first of all. Yeah. If we had more police out there, maybe many stations.
Like they can't be at every house. And just as your house is private property and you're supposed to protect your home as well, you call the police, in fact, if someone breaks in or do something. But if you're there, you're obligated to protect not only yourself, but whoever's on your property. This is private property, but also you do have secondary employment. So you can hire police officers in uniform to be at those gas stations as well.
And Charlie, legally, what can an armed security guard do and what can he not do?
He can protect. First of all, let's just say, is it legal for city council to mandate that gas station owners in the city have a security guard? The answer is yes. There's clearly a safety interest because if someone gets hurt, the police have to come. So the bottom line is city council can mandate it. I am convinced of that. Number two, how far can those security guards go? Can they have a gun? I would say yes. Should they be trained? Of course they should have trained. Now, if a security guard goes off and shoots someone for stealing a package of gum, they can't do that. What the security guard can only do is prevent violence. They can probably draw a gun, but now we're getting into the gray area. But it's a deterrent. It is a deterrent. People will go to a store, a gas station, if there is a security guard. The security guard can be there. Security guard can also call the police because that security guard is trained to know what crime should be dealt with by the police and what crime this guy can prevent from in that store.
Think of this. Have there been a security guard out there for Mr. Brantley? By the way, that beatdown, that carjacking occurred in broad daylight at 10:40 a.m. after Mr. Brantley had come from Bible study. But say there had been a security guard there at the pumps. He could have pulled his gun and perhaps stopped that carjacking and that beatdown.
Maybe, maybe not. I mean, it was caught on tape, but there's a lot of other scenarios that could happen. If somebody really wants to commit a crime, they're going to do it. And why stop at gas stations? Why not Coney Islands? Why not supermarkets? You know, we can't create this militarized zones all throughout Detroit. We need the community to come together, like, you know, Moses and Rainbow Push Coalition and Detroit 300. We need the people to take back the city. And we need more police officers.
We got to start somewhere. So
why don't you deputize every store owner and every business person left in Detroit? I mean, that just doesn't make sense. We really need to take back our city, and that's why we're willing to dialogue on it.
And we're going to dialogue on that. And we're looking at other ways. And if we can sit down and look at ways. First of all, I see the tape that you just released tonight, and I think that's good to show that the person was there. But what good is the tape if the call is not made? I haven't heard the 911 call from the station. And probably because the attendant was too busy taking care of his customers or whatever. But Why? I mean, what good is it?
Well, look, I mean,
it took a little time for this to happen.
I've had some clerks tell me behind the scenes that they were frankly worried about their own safety because there had been tricks before to get them out from behind that bulletproof glass. They were concerned that this might have been a trick too. Had they ventured out, they were afraid they might be shot or hijacked or killed
themselves. Isn't that why we need
and that's why you need someone else.
That's why we need someone that's trained in security. Every store, if you go to Somerset Mall, there's security in those stores. Those people are trained to know what to look. They can spot a criminal just by looking at them. That's what we need in these stores. I was out there in the streets of Detroit today, all over. I went to the gas stations. I'm telling you, people are afraid to get gas, and no one will get gas at nighttime because it is so risky and dangerous. Something's got to happen.
And many of these gas stations are open 24 hours a day. Keith, do you feel that a curfew might help deter some crime as well?
I don't think it's going to work. I think a curfew is just going to. It's just going to cause more problems because who's going to call on the curfew? The gas station clerk. Gas station clerk calls police. Police come. By the time the police get there, the guys are gone because he's told them, I've called the police. Police come through, they leave. Next thing you know, I've seen it. I worked at that station for years. I've been that guy behind the glass who's had to call the police, who's been in fist fights, who's done everything that you're supposed to do, and some things that you're not supposed to do.
So what is your answer then to this problem?
I don't have an answer except for the way I look at it is most of the people who are doing this crime are younger. It's got to start somewhere. It has to start at home. Home is a huge place. You teach your kid how to act, and he's going to act like an adult. He's going to act like a man. If not, then maybe the state and the government should make laws a little stricter.
And that will take time. But meanwhile, you've got an ongoing problem right now, Auday. What are you going to do right now?
Well, there's a number of groups working. Moses, Rainbow Push Coalition, Detroit 300, and community groups coming together to try to figure out a plan. There's no one magic bullet. We can't just band-aid a problem. Public safety is a huge issue. You know, you can just point at gas stations, but gas stations just because they're open. Crime and public safety is all throughout Detroit. We need more officers. We need people to take back the neighborhoods. And if you just think a store owner is going to be able to take back his little corner of Detroit, it's just not going to happen.
And it's not just the cost you're thinking about here.
Well, the cost is a big issue too, and then we haven't even got to that because people don't want to pay the high gas prices today. If you have an armed security guard, you know, talk about double and triple the price.
But people might want to pay a few extra pennies if it means there's safety.
Yeah, I agree. We do have to do something. Again, we're talking about a 24-hour facility. Some of these facilities close their doors at a certain time, and you got to do business outside the door. You know, that's a problem. This is your private property. If you don't want to protect it, then maybe I shouldn't shop there. If I know that criminals hang out here, and people have gotten robbed here, gotten hijacked, carjacked here, then I don't need to shop at that store.
Well, we're just beginning this discussion, and we thank you for your input. Thank you. Much more to come on this issue. And coming up next right here, you saw them on the program last week, Detroit teenagers talking about violence in the city and why so many young people barely old enough to drive carry guns.
If you don't got a gun, you might end up in the casket. Everybody got to keep their protection on them because you don't know who is who. You know, everybody said they your friend, everybody not your friend, you know.
Coming up next, the backstory on one of these teams and the intervention being attempted right now by a member of the Detroit 300. More Let It Rip when we return.
But once you step foot out the car, it's a different thing. Once you step on the soil, when you get on the soil, people are running around here with guns, robbing people, shooting people, stabbing people, breaking into people's houses.
Those words are chilling and scary to come from somebody so young. Welcome back to Let It Rip. With us now, a member of the Detroit 300, Thomas Jackson. He was here with us last week, and along with Angelo Henderson, Raphael Johnson, inspired a lot of you to get involved. This week, Thomas reached out to one of those young men you just saw, and he's here to tell us about what happened. You've already met Councilman Kwame Kenyatta, and here to preach both forgiveness from sin and a crackdown on crime. The pastor of Little Rock Baptist Church, Reverend Jim Holly, is here. And look out, Charlie may end up preaching too before the night is over. Thomas, let's begin with you because we saw these young men speaking about their lives, the violence in their lives, and their response was to get a gun.
That's right, that's right. First off, I want to say these young guys are really hurting. They're hurting. No fathers, sick mothers, no lights, no gas at home. They're in some of the most poverty-stricken areas in Detroit. And so I took it upon myself to reach out to one of the young guys, and he is the total opposite of what we saw on national TV. And I have to say that I'm going to speak on behalf for this young guy right here. This is a young man. Very intelligent young guy, very warm. I went to his uncle's house. We sat down on the couch, and we just talked. We just had dialogue. Where he coming from, why his mindset is where it's at. You know, what are some of the things that could get him out of this dark time that he's in, and we came up with some solutions. So currently I have an interview set up for him Wednesday for employment. That's the first piece. Most kids need money. That's why they commit crimes, because they're hungry. I'm not gonna get into his story too deep because I just want to, for his, out of the respect of him. But he's definitely in a dark spot, and it's my responsibility to step up and be a beacon of light for the young brother. So we definitely have some great a wonderful action plan that we're going to develop. I'm going to mentor to him. I'm going to make sure we stick together at least 3 days a week. I talked to him a couple of times today. He made sure he called me today, and he's just very optimistic. You see hope in him. You see hope. You see that, you know, I'm 16 years old, I'm struggling, my cry was answered.
Well, Councilman Kenyatta, you have had some experience dealing with young people in your career. It's a difficult equation, because on one hand, you want to save these young people before they get involved in violence, but by the same token, I don't want one of these young men shooting anybody in my family that I love.
Right. Well, that's why you have to do the work that they're doing to keep that from happening. I mean, we got to address it on both ends, the prevention end and the reaction end once something has happened, and how we stop that. Yes, I was at the youth home for over 10 years. I ran the Malcolm X Community Center, and what Brother Thomas is saying is exactly true. What you see out in front of television, I'm cold, I'm bad, I'm all of this, because they have to do that. You're not weak, you're not a punk, so you got to show that you're this. But then when you get them behind closed doors and you look at their home situation and what they come out of, and nobody has walked by them and said, look, young man, pull your pants up. Look, young man, what is your real issue? What is your problem? So yes, we do have to do this on this end, as well as address there will be safety, there will be security in our community. But at the same time, you got a situation where you all reported last week, 60% of the children in this city lives in poverty. 40% of the adults are functionally illiterate. The state in and of itself has a poverty issue and a crime issue to go along with that. And the answer is not more prisons, private prisons, and all of that. The answer is that we're going to have to open up these churches, these organizations, these stores, and all together come up with a solution.
Well, I know that Reverend Holly has done that. You have reached out to so many children in your career. You have reached out to families in need. I know that you've done that. But by the same token, we have prevention operating on one level, but we've also got to punish people who do wrong.
Well, what I'm calling for is the fact is that I'm talking about prevention. And understand, I think that in 1967, understand we had a riot. 47 people were killed in the riot. Right now we have 48 plus, and 467 people were injured in the riot. Now, that was the riot. We're not having a riot now, and we've got 48 plus people that are already dead.
Been murdered.
And what I'm trying to say to you is, I think that the laws must reflect our outrage. And somehow, some kind of way, we got to do all the things that these young men have said.
So you're calling for tougher penalties?
Absolutely. Understand, 2 years is a vacation for these kids. We got to start. You got to start saying to them again. If you had a dozen of good boys up saying a gun gets you 10, if you talk about kids, 17 and under kids murdered, if you're not going. We got to have real punishment. If a police officer could die, he's a cop killer, he gets life. A child dies, he gets 10 to 15 years. This is not fair. And we got to let the laws reflect our outrage, so we can take control. I know this is, but understand, it may be somewhat radical, but we got to have this kind of dialogue. And this is the only thing I'm trying to say, that we got to take control of our community. We got to do all of that. we got to also reflect the times that we're living in right now.
Charlie, do tougher laws work?
Well, not really. The laws on the books, they're on the books right now. If you commit a crime with a gun, it's automatically 2 years in prison.
But shouldn't it be 10? Should it be 10?
No, 10 years, no. These kids have some real problems. And listen, if you commit a crime, you should do a proper amount of time. 10 years? Taking a kid out of a life for 10 years? No. We need some deterrent. We need to start from the beginning.
Mr. Lawyer, we're not just talking about kids. We're talking about people who are over 20, who are killing people, and most of these crimes are done by guns. And understand, I'm not talking about a kid killing another kid. I'm talking about the fact that you got grown-ups that are killing people.
Well, that's life in prison, though. That is life in prison. You kill someone, it's life in prison. So that's easy. But if you commit a crime with a gun, it's 2 years. The laws are there. We need to stop the crime. That's what we need to do.
But the killers often begin with minor crimes first before they go on to murder. And that's why, that's the idea.
You got 2 million people in jail in this country. Half of that is people of African-American descent. I expect for the Reverend, and I understand he does it all, but I don't expect for the Reverend to talk about locking me up, but open me up, and open my heart up, and open the church doors up that's closed every day except for his, every day but Sunday. We have got to look at, so what you had in '67 was a rebellion, not a riot, and what you have in Detroit today is another rebellion, and you got to understand why they are rebelling and address those issues.
Three of you, I'm sure, can work together to find a solution and answer. Still to come on Let It Rip. Would customers really feel safer at gas stations if owners had armed security guards? Charlie takes the show on the road. More Let It Rip when we come back. It's a big issue tonight. Detroit gas stations have been the scenes of various crimes, everything from carjackings to kidnappings to murders. Now, this is a map of some of the stations that we visited in an effort to find out if people would really feel safer if these stations provided armed security guards. And Charlie took the show on the road.
Well, Huel, every one of those stations that you saw right there, there was either a murder or a shooting or a violent crime. Every single one today. So I went to the station. I really wanted to find out what would they like to have an armed security guard at the station. Here's what they said. Violence at gas stations. I mean, some people say that, in fact, the city council now might want to put armed guards at gas stations. Is that a good idea?
Definitely.
People don't care. They'll shoot a guard.
A lot of women, including a family member of mine, have been robbed during their gas, especially at late hours of the night. That's why I'm getting my gas now.
You have to be aware of your surroundings at all times. It's dangerous.
See, this guy got killed in the gas station. Nobody found him after, like, what, 6 hours?
Why is there so much crime in these neighborhoods and at these gas stations?
Terrible economy. I think people will put their back against the walls, so they're doing the most that they can to feed and survive, you know? It's a vicious cycle.
Would you feel safer if there was a guard, an armed guard, at a gas station?
Yeah, much safer.
Yeah. Would you pay for more to have that? Who's going to solve the problem that it costs money?
It's a police problem. They need to handle it.
If the city want to pay for it, yeah, but no, not out of my pocket.
I think security in general needs to be increased in Detroit, and police officers need to be on the street and to take care of our citizens.
Are the police doing enough to stop the violence?
I think they're doing all that they can do.
If there was a guard at a gas station right next door and one without, which one would you go to?
The one with the guard.
Suppose the gas was $1 more a gallon, then would you go there?
I don't know.
You got to protect yourself the best way you can.
How do you protect yourself?
I ain't going to tell you.
He's implying, of course, that he's packing. Thomas, you were just at a gas station tonight. What did you see?
Just at a gas station tonight, I saw maybe about 10 young guys shooting dice in the corner of the gas station. Good thing about it was, and I still got out. I still proceeded to go in and get my gas. I needed it. But
see, you're big. I don't think you'd be afraid.
Well, I can't block bullets though. But the police pulled up and cleared it out. So that was the good thing about it. But this is a terrible issue that's going on in our city, and I'm very heartbroken at the 86-year-old. That just disturbed me to the fullest. And whatever it takes for us to step in and police the public areas, gas stations, restaurants, whatever. Therefore, we need to come up with some strategic plan.
But the question, Councilman, how much would we be willing to pay? Would we be willing to pay an extra 25, 50 cents a gallon for protection? Is that what's going to take?
What is the price of a life? You know, we got to ask that. At the same time, we also, as a community, as a people, we're not showing our best. We're showing our worst. There is no way that man should have crawled all the way into the store. Absolutely. And even after getting into the store,
But now he did get help.
He got
help. Into the store, and people realized that he was hurt. He was helped immediately.
That should not have happened. We're going to have to stop. Everybody is not a drunk, a bum, or whatever the case may be. There are people that are hurt, and some folks saw that happen. We're going to have to get involved.
And Pastor, very quickly, show compassion, but show resolve too.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is that we can't get immune to this, and that's what I'm so scared of. Is that the city is getting immune and getting.
Let's hope not. Gentlemen, we thank you for your comments and your insights, and we thank you for watching. That's it for this edition of Let It Rip.
The Let It Rip discussion continues online. Sound off with your opinion on myfoxdetroit.com, the Fox 2 Facebook fan page, or Twitter. We might even use your comments on the air.